Welcome to the Don't Know Much podcast, the DKM podcast, where we don't know much about anything. But what I do know is that this year of gaming has become a interesting turn of events. Obviously, Elden Ring has captured the hearts of the fanatics, the veterans of the Soulborne series, and it's even brought in the casual crowd because a lot of the popular streamers are covering it. A lot of people are getting really, really into it, and given the game is a very user friendly compared to the other Souls games, uh, which is why I find it easier. Sadly, Kenny's not here, so we can't really discuss it with him in this episode. I would like to know his opinion on this, but Elden Ring is one of those games where it's probably a lot of people's number one game of the year nomination. However, the second game that has been taking the storm, taking the cultural popularity by storm is the Skywalker saga for the Lego Star Wars video game series. And for those who played it, the original Star Wars Lego Star Wars series, it was a very, very, very great game. It's one of those tropes that a lot of people like to say now, where the game is complete. Remember the good old days when games were complete, games were full of great content and no microtransactions or DLCs. So
Well, joke's on you, Marcos, because there was the Lego Star Wars Complete Saga that was released later.
yeah, but that's true. But like the original ones, though, the original.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny to me because when I was a kid, I think I grew up with the prequel one, and I think it kind of confused me as a kid because I didn't understand what 4, 5, and 6
Yeah.
meant. So I was kind of like, wait, isn't this if this is the original trilogy? Why isn't this episode 1?
Right. And that's the thing that really confuses anyone going into Star Wars from the get go. But given that a lot of people are actually leaving Elden Ring and going, not a lot, but from what I've seen, some people are actually dropping Elden Ring to go play the Skywalker saga because the amount of content they added in this remake, it's
What
it's
is
phenomenal.
what is the player count just dropping?
No, not a lot. I'm just
coming
saying
off
a lot of people are like, hey, I'm gonna pause on Elden Ring and I'm gonna play this game because this game.
I mean, yeah, I get what you mean. Some people take the whole oh, you dropped this game thing way too serious. Like, especially if you're a streamer, if you're known to play one fucking game, immediately, if you try anything different, just anything, everybody in the chat, oh my god, you dropped Call of Duty? Oh my god, what happened? What, did just Call of Duty dead to you?
Yeah,
Do you hate Call of Duty?
yeah.
It's like, no, dude, I took a fucking break. It's fine. I played something else. You should go back to playing Call of Duty. It's like, damn, dude, give me a fucking break. I'm playing something else. Y'all motherfuckers don't play anything else?
The one thing that I do like about streamers who obviously have
Variety.
a palette variety within their palette is that at any moment they'll drop something, but obviously some people will only watch certain things because they're playing this game or you're playing that game. Obviously some people are there for the personality itself, but that's everyone has their own views on things. To tell you the truth, I mostly watch, or not mostly watch, on Twitch. I mostly subscribe to people, or I mostly follow people who play Dead by Daylight. Not because I'm actively looking for the channels. It's because I'm watching a friend play. They raid someone else, and I just give them a follow, and that's really it. So, and most of my friends that I watch on stream, they play Dead by Daylight. So that's really how it goes. But it seems like Star Wars and Lego Star Wars and Elden Ring have become a cultural phenomenon when it comes to gaming because a lot of people are going crazy for both. So it is a fine beginning year for the beginning of the year for gaming. How is this going to pan out towards the end? I don't know, because obviously Horizon Forbidden West didn't really do the smarty smart thing where it got released next to another AAA game that was a lot more popular. If you can recall, the original Horizon game came out, I think, 3 days before or 3 days after Breath of the Wild. And yeah, a lot of people were more focused on Breath of the Wild than they were Horizon. But Horizon was still a great game. People still went back to it. But now, obviously, Forbidden West did the whole same thing, but with Elden Ring. So it's not on a lot of people's radar because, Elden Ring just took everything by storm. So it's nice to see two great titans of a game series that obviously rarely ever mess up when it comes to their development of games, because I have had so much fun with Lego Star Wars. Like, every game is a masterpiece, in my opinion. But that's just me.
I've only have played the Lego Star Wars games on the PS2. I really had a fun time playing them though, looking back on it as a child. But I never really. I remember Lego Indiana Jones was very
Hmm.
popular in the Xbox
Yeah.
360. But I remember there was like this big discrepancy of like, do you prefer if your Lego games like didn't speak, or do you prefer they pantomime? Because I always find it like kind of charming, like you could just kind of dub in your own voices, like when Donkey did his video of Lego Star Wars. That was really funny. But then again, I've only seen a little bit of this game, but man, I was kind of surprised because I remember this game got delayed at one point, and I thought like, wait, isn't this just like, aren't they just gonna take the original games and just pretty them up a little bit? Like, I know we all seen the meme about like, oh, the Lego Yoda face is always kind of goofy, so people use it as a
Or
profile
his
picture.
death sound.
Especially here's Deaf Sound, yeah, exactly. And but then no, it's like, oh no, this is just like a full on remake, and it's a fucking Devil May Cry game now because Kenobi could fucking do an infinite on a child, on the youngins, or like that's really funny to me. Like, did Padme go up to Anakin and say like, Obi-Wan, you did a fucking infinite on a goddamn youngin? What the fuck? Like, it's some crazy shit. I've seen some people pull some like Devil May Cry edits in that, and I was just like, this is what the game's about, and I've seen it, a little bit of it. Um, Caught me completely by surprise. I know that it now includes the trilogy that most people don't like to talk about right now. But as a kid growing up, that was like my most exposure to Star Wars growing up. Like, I've seen the first movie a lot, well, episode 1 a lot. I saw episode 2 maybe once, and then I saw episode 3. So me to keep up to date with the Star Wars was actually playing the game. That was like the best way for me to like get a basic understanding of what the fuck is going on. But it was a charming series. I played the shit out of it. I remember I used to play it a lot with my stepbrother, and I forgot what it was called, but the little capsule thingy, like the white little cylinder thingy that has like the red and green
Yeah, I know what you're
lights.
talking about.
I remember like when you collect them, then you lock Lego City, and that shit was so fucking cool. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm glad that I didn't think this game was gonna take off, but I think a lot of people had like some nostalgia. They just want to kind of like fill back in. But speaking about nostalgia, so a little franchise that started off on the PlayStation 2 back in the day when it was only on the PS2, and then it went on every fucking system afterwards. Kingdom Hearts hit its 20th anniversary. That's pretty freaking crazy to me. I don't know what it is about the PlayStation 2, man, but like, I think being an RPG, especially a JRPG fan, was such a fun time because Square Enix was just pumping out like so many good fucking role-playing games at that time. And man, Kingdom Hearts was such a weird game. Like, I don't know how the fuck I would have discovered this game on my own if it wasn't like, I was grateful that I grew up with a lot of, like, not grew up with, but like super close with, like, I didn't have like an older brother or anything, but like I was around kids that had older brothers that had like the really weird games. Like, they had the Metal Gear Solid 2, and I didn't even know what the fuck it was even called back then. All I knew was like, it's a stealth game where I shit my pants if the exclamation point noise hit. And I would have never played Final Fantasy X. Well, not much. I played a little bit of Final Fantasy X. But man, when I first saw Kingdom Hearts 1, I mean, man, that game just caught my eye. Where it's like, wait, this is some like anime bullshit, and you're a kid with a key for a fucking sword, and the combat is super engaging and button mashing. My dumb bozo brain of mine that loves the action games like that will be like, oh yeah, fun, X button, do damage, make numbers go big, and man, I love the shit out of the game. I played so much of Kingdom Hearts 1. But yeah, nostalgia aside, in Japan, I was hoping they would do like a presentation, like maybe they would have done some cool announcements and stuff like that. But from what I can gather, it was just kind of like a showcasing. They showed off a lot of cool art. I really like the art that they showed off, where it was like Nomura's art, man, I really like Nomura's art. I really do, especially with the current Kingdom Hearts art that this guy does. It's so cool to see him go from like Final Fantasy VII to Kingdom Hearts, and I really like the art that they did, where it's like clearly they're hinting at this, that we're gonna announce Kingdom Hearts 4, because in the art, I don't know if you've seen it, Marcos, where you see Sora from Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3, and they're all like pointing the finger. They're not the finger, but like they're counting their fingers, like the number game they came from, and there's like a square, a black box. I'm like, okay, they're gonna announce Kingdom Hearts 4, and I saw the reveal of it. It looked kind of cool. I'm a little bit miffed on how Sora looks. Like, I really hope that this isn't the final model, because like, yeah, I see this would be the natural progression, but I thought like Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora looked kind of nice enough where it was like it still looked like a PS2 game, like design wise, but it's now like on a PlayStation 4. Like I don't know, I'm getting like Final Fantasy 15 vibes off of it, and I don't know, but
Well, that's just like the trailer
yeah,
type of look. You know, that's not like
I mean, to be fair, though,
in-game.
the game is still in
Yeah.
development, so this could drastically change between now and later. But I like it. I mean, it looks nice. I think the game looks freaking dope. I don't think this is going to be coming out on the PlayStation 4. If it is, it's probably going to run like dog shit.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's kind of cool. Like, we got a Kingdom Hearts 4. I'm not seeing as much of excitement. But then again, like, coming from the excitement from Kingdom Hearts 2 to 3 to 3 to 4 isn't going to be as drastic because, you know, if you grew up like we did, you know, at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, spoiler alert, when Sora, Riku, and Kairi are in Destiny Islands, and then they get that fucking bottle and they're like, holy shit, there's more adventures, there's going to be a Kingdom Hearts 3, and then we got to wait 2 fucking console generations, and then we finally got it, you know, and a shit ton of spin-off games. Like, I can understand it because there was a hype between like, okay, we know Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be a thing, but we got all these spin-offs to hold us over. You know what I'm saying? But this game is like, hey, we're done with Kingdom Hearts 3. We released a fucking rhythm game. Now we announced Kingdom Hearts 4. There's no, like, if, ands, or buts. Yeah, so what I was saying was, like, yeah, no if, ands, or buts. It was just like, all right, Kingdom Hearts 3 is done. We released the DLC. We released the fucking rhythm game that adds some fucking story explaining where the fuck Sora went. Spoiler alert, Sora went to the Quadratum. And yeah, it just, you know, I'm sure there's some excitement. I'm sure a lot of people are just really excited. Just a lot of people, you know, because we're going off of Japan time right now. This thing got, I think, announced at like 6 a.m. or something. Like a lot of people are legitimately fighting to stay awake because they really wanted to see what was shown off. But yeah, so Kingdom Hearts 4 was obviously the big thing. They announced a new mobile game. It's called, let me see. They showed off a character called Sterezia. I think he was from Union Cross. I never played that game. I never played the Kingdom Hearts mobile game. What the fuck was it? Is it like
God,
an
I played the
actual
hell out of that
RPG?
game.
Because I think I've seen like the web browser version.
Yeah, it's an RPG, but it wasn't a. It was also. It wasn't like super multiplayer. It was. You can have clans. You could have stuff, but it wasn't like actively real time multiplayer.
I think so. Yeah. So the
That
other
makes any
game that
sense.
got announced was Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. Oh, being on the fucking nose there. All right, I get it. You get it, guys. It's the Missing Link. Now the story makes sense. But yeah. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary. Fucking crazy. This is so. I still remember pre-ordering fucking Kingdom Hearts 2 and just being so goddamn excited for that game. I played the shit out of it. And then, you know, growing up, I remember like watching all these like videos on YouTube. I was like, wait, you could fight Roxas as Sora? How did you do that? Oh my god, what's this hidden boss fight? And then I found out, oh yeah, that's like a version from Japan that never came here in America, and like super hardcore Kingdom Hearts fans like fucking imported this game. And that was just crazy to me.
Yeah.
You kids nowadays have it fucking easy. Back in my day, you had to own like 6 consoles in order to play all the Kingdom Hearts games. Now you just have all these collections easily available to you. I just only wish that the Epic Game Store version of these collections would just go on sale. Because god damn it, I'm sorry. I spent like $20 to own all these games on PS4. I really don't want to spend nearly $100 for it. I really don't. I really wish Square Enix would just release the all-in-one bundle for $60. Just bargain with me here, Square. Just do me that fucking favor.
Yeah, like the story so far.
You can
which
see
is
that
every
shit
game
going sale for
before
$20.
Kingdom Hearts 3, that was on. Yeah, when it first came out, it
Which
was
is
like
crazy
50.
because they sold the collections
Something like that.
individually on the PS3. Then they did it again on the PS4, but they bundled 1.5 and 2.5 together. Then they released 2.8 separately because they had excused that as a Kingdom Hearts 3 demo. Okay, cool, whatever. But like eventually they said, all right, fuck it, we're just gonna make it all in one. And then they made another one which includes Kingdom Hearts 3, and you can buy that for $20. And I'm like, man, you know, Square, like, you know me, I'm the kind of guy that's like, eventually when I buy a game on a console, I want to own it on PC eventually, because to me, PC is just readily accessible and readily available, because to me, I'm a lazy fuck. To me, like, it's much easier for me to be like, click download, click play, and then play it on my PC at higher frame rates and refresh rate and blah, 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 blah. than having to switch over to my monitor, go to the console setting, da 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 da, which is, not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world, but to me, it's like I'd rather play it on my PC than I do on my PS4. I know it's not going to be drastically different, but god damn it, like,
Right.
going from the PS3 version that ran at 30 FPS to the PS4 version running at 60 is a fucking plus. But god damn it, I'm really curious to see how Kingdom Hearts would play like at 165 hertz.
I will say that story-wise, where I think this story's gonna go, if you have played the DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3, it leads off in a very, very peculiar point for Sora, because obviously Sora disappeared into the realm of emptiness. Basically, this is the same realm where all the Keyblade masters. Oh, by the way, this is where the Union Cross game, the mobile game, was basically a prequel to the Kingdom Hearts series. It explains a lot of things. It explains where Roxas actually came
Ventus.
from. Because not Roxas, Ventus. Ventus was a dandelion, essentially a Keyblade warrior who was there during the great time of the where everyone had a Keyblade. There was these huge factions, all these Keyblades from the Keyblade graveyard. Those were from all these people who were in this time frame. Then the whole Keyblade War happening, where all five groups, five big organizations, they were just fighting amongst each other because of reasons. It was just doubts being placed into every one of them. People think that one group was fighting another group. One group tried to kill this other group's leader, so on and so forth. But it was just all a ruse from the Master of Masters. He was just doing his own thing. Why, we don't know the real reason. All we know is that the Masters, the leader of these five places, they were figuring out what the heck was going on. And then after the whole Keyblade War and basically every single freaking Keyblade wielder, almost virtually all of them, died. Then the Masters realized what's going on. So that's basically what the game covers. I forgot this dude's name. He's a white-haired kid. He
Showed up at one point in like one of the games, and like I just didn't know who the fuck he was. Like, oh yeah, he's in the movie. Yeah, I was just like, who the fuck is that guy?
In Kingdom Hearts 3. In Kingdom Hearts 3, while you're doing your final fight versus
Xehanort.
Dang, I forgot his name already. The old dude, the old bald dude, Xehanort. Him. I was gonna call him Zemnis, but like that's not Zemnis. It's not him. He comes in and says, "Hey, I'll lend you a helping hand," and then that's when Keyblades from the Keyblade graveyard start helping out Sora. He's riding on the Keyblade wave. I guess it's a stream of Keyblades, and he's just riding it, and it's helping him defeat Xehanort. But he is the leader of the Dandelions. He was a very, very big, important character in the in the Union Cross when it comes to story wise. But once Kingdom Hearts 3 ends, we see that the Masters all come back, and they say, "Hey, Xehanort's defeated. He what's next?" And one of the Masters, so I think there's a snake, unicorn, fox, bear, and I can't remember the other one. Either way, the bear master, was a Organization 13 member, and he was on the inside waiting for the Masters of Masters plans to pan out. The Keyblade that Xehanort has is the Keyblade that the Master of Masters owned, and the reason why it has an eye is because the Masters of Masters can see everything that Keyblade can see. So the story will keep progressing, only for it to, end where it's got to go to for Kingdom Hearts 4. But because of all this, everything that panned out for Kingdom Hearts 3, everything that Sora did, him learning the powers of awakening, so on and so forth. I know I'm rambling, but let's it all ends with him going into the realm of emptiness, the Quadratum. It's a realm of emptiness. This is where the Masters are as well, and they're sort of, it's not the darkness realm. It's somewhere else where there is no light and dark. It's just limbo, essentially. And in the Remind DLC, Sora comes back technically because, do you remember in Toy Story World in Kingdom Hearts 3, there was this one dude that looked like Riku. He was a what do you call this? He was a what was his name?
To be honest though, man,
You know what
it's
I'm
been a
talking
while.
about, right?
I did finish the Toy Story World, full transparency. I actually never finished Kingdom Hearts 3, but that was because like I just did not have the time to finish it. I never really, it wasn't a bad game. I just kind of didn't really have the time for it, and I feel like that I would appreciate Kingdom Hearts 3 more if I was able to like play all the other games. But I feel like I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Rex
the
said,
guy
"Hey,
who kind
you're
of
that
looks
guy
like
from that one
Noctis,
video
and it was
game."
kind of
And
like I always interpret that as like Nomura getting back at Square Enix for not letting him do Final Fantasy 15 versus 13. In my memory,
yeah, so
yeah.
he looks like a mix of Riku and Noctis, right? So go have your fan ship if that's what you want, because that's essentially how he looks like. But he comes into he something with involving data. He fights Sora, like the essence of Sora, and it is literally quite.
It's a super boss.
Yeah, it's literally the hardest boss you could fight. Yeah, it's harder than Sephiroth, harder than the Lingering Will in 1.5. It is a very, very difficult boss, and once you beat him, he says, "Oh, it's not my time yet." So this looks like what you just said. It's Nomura's big old fuck you to the to whoever told him that,
versus
hey,
13,
this whole
yeah.
Final Fantasy,
Which is really funny
15
because when you see
X,
like promotional
yeah.
pictures and posters of it, it's
Can't
like,
happen.
oh yikes, that never happened. That's never gonna happen.
Right. So he looks like he might be coming to Kingdom Hearts 4 because he exists. He exists in the Toy Story world, and he's probably going to exist in other mediums as well. So we're going to see how this pans
I mean,
out.
I don't know. I
other
feel like
than,
to me, like I felt
him
like the
being just a
world
Toy
ends with
Story
you
character.
characters being added in Kingdom Hearts 3D was something I was so excited about because I love that game. But I was really hoping that they were like gonna really build on that, and I was like, oh man, what if they made like a Shibuya world or something like that? Because fuck it, who says you got to stop only at Final Fantasy? But they kind of just showed up as just literally that, just cameos, and it just always bothered me where it's just like, okay, yeah, because it was like, okay, like if you're not gonna like. Can you at least explain why they're there? Like they never like said like, oh, they're part of a different world. They could like easily wrote that in. It was like, oh yeah, we're from Shibuya, but we came here because something happened in our world. I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. Like obviously, I'm not gonna be like wondering like, geez, I wonder why Titus is here in Destiny Islands instead with Yuna in Final Fantasy X. Like I don't give a shit. I'll just like fuck it, who cares? But it's like, why the world ends with you characters, and they know they're from the world ends with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like Cloud obviously is good friends with, with Aerith and fucking Tifa. But have you noticed how like Squall and Leon and fucking Cloud are like best bros? And I know that like probably just Nomura being like, hey, wouldn't that be cool? Like, what if we wrote that into the plot that Cloud and Squall are best buddies or some shit? But then that kind of puts it interesting where it's like, oh, that means that technically speaking, that doesn't mean that they're coming from the worlds from Final Fantasy. They're just characters that just happen to meet in Kingdom Hearts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
exactly. Like I don't think they
in
explicitly
both
said
areas.
that. Like I think Aerith might have said that in fucking Kingdom Hearts 1, but then again, Kingdom Hearts 1 got so many retcons in hindsight where like I think she mentions that her world also got swallowed, but
Yeah.
you could still write that off as that like, oh, okay, but that doesn't mean that Tidus or any like Waka from Final Fantasy X came from a different world. Then again, I could be wrong. Maybe some hardcore Kingdom Hearts aficionados will be telling me in the chat, in the comment section, telling me I'm fucking stupid, but cut me a break.
I will say though that obviously we already know that the story of Kingdom Hearts is not a very linear one, a very easy one to
When
understand.
did you sorry to interrupt you, but like speaking
way,
about the story,
it is
when did
interesting
you mentally check that out of the series? I'm legitimately curious. No, I want to say more like, okay, here, let me give a little bit of history, right? I played Kingdom Hearts 1. I loved the shit out of it. I played the hell out of it. It was pretty cut and dry. Okay, Sora's from a different world. All these Disney characters are from different worlds. My buddy is Donald and Goofy. Riku's being a whiny bitch because this is like the early 2000s, and that's how you write like best friend characters turn evil is just, oh, I'm jealous because you found new best friends. Wah. Okay, cool. Whatever. Great. I didn't beat Chain of Memories as a kid because I didn't like the card building system at all. I hated it. I fucking hated. I didn't get it as a kid. It was just one of those things that now as an adult I know how to break the shit out of the game. But as a kid, I just used slates all day, and then that just kind of like made the game drag even longer. But I did Castle Oblivion. I thought Organization 13 was 1/10 good. That was about it. And the Kingdom Hearts 2 happened, and I was like, okay, this is getting pretty crazy. This is goofy. Okay, this is good. I'm okay with it. But after Kingdom Hearts 2, I kind of really didn't give a shit about the story as much. Either because, one, it's either a rehash, which you see a lot in these games. Like, Recoded is basically just a retelling, which, to be fair, though, that's originally was the purpose. It was just, hey, we want to port Kingdom Hearts 1 onto a fucking Verizon phone. And then later we made it into the DS, which apparently Nomura was drunk when he had this idea. I'm not sure the legitimacy of that statement, but whatever, 358 days.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. More story explanation of like why Roxas kind of became a bad guy. But it sort of became one of those things like, okay, you made a whole like fucking story that answered like maybe one question. And I thought, okay, cool. If the motive isn't going to be as interesting, like make the setting or the idea of it kind of cool. I would have liked more character in the organization. Just because they're a bunch of nobodies doesn't mean they have no fucking personality. But you really didn't get much of that aside from Saïx, which not Saïx. Who was the one with the sitar and the with the water? Damn it! Was it Demix or something like that?
About. I can't remember.
I really like Demix. Yeah. Yeah, it was
I think so.
Demix, yeah. Like, I like Demix a lot because I relate to him. Hey, man, I'm on the fucking clock. I'm going to sit on my ass all day and bitch and whine and complain about no free fucking coffee. Let's fucking do it. But, like, at some point, I'm like, okay, I see what they did there and the whole Shion thing. Like, yeah, it's kind of fan fiction-y, but I fucking cried like a bitch when she died. Who cares? Aside from the shitty line that happened. But then, like, I never played Birth by Sleep, unfortunately, which is the strangest one because that one completely eluded me. I think by, like, Kingdom Hearts 3, I just stopped giving a fuck at that point. Like, I just didn't know what the fuck was going on, and I was like, man, this looks really convoluted for me. Like, okay, now we're adding into a different creature type, and I don't know. I feel like the strongest I gave a shit about this franchise was Kingdom Hearts 2, and then all the spin-off games afterwards, like, I enjoy them for what they were, but I wasn't as, like, enthralled at them as I was a kid. And that's probably why, like, I just didn't give really much of a shit about Kingdom Hearts 3, because I feel like my patience has just kind of, like, been tested the most at that point. But, yeah.
Yeah, by the way, Zigbar is the one
with the
that
iPad.
was from the original.
Yeah.
The iPad, she was the original, like, one of the masters who was on the inside, seeing the Masters Plan go out. So Zigbar's was it? Yeah, his true identity was revealed, and that was very, very, very interesting. If you play the Union Cross games, but yeah, to answer your question, when I got, I guess, burnt out on it, or when I just wasn't interested in it, I don't know, because I never was truly into it. Like, I never owned it because I didn't have a PS2 from the get-go when I was a kid.
Score one for the PS2
It was it was just something. The PS2, I still believe that it's like one of the best consoles like ever made, period, because of like everything that came out on it, everything that happened.
That and
with it.
also
Like,
was the cheapest
it was
DVD
a
player at the
cultural
time.
phenomenon. Yeah. So that being said, I've never really been super into it. I've watched a lot of videos on it, and that's how I got most of my things, most of my what do you call it? How do I say this? That's how I got most of my content from it, just by watching stuff from it on YouTube. And the music, obviously, I've been enjoying the music, OST, even theme songs, and even like trailer music from Utada Hikaru, only because they were super, super popular back then. But I've never really like gotten out of it until like Kingdom Hearts 3, obviously, because like it's like, what's the point? The game was really, really, really.
Wait, you didn't like Kingdom Hearts 3 at all?
Compared to all the other ones. So I guess Kingdom Hearts 3,
You thought it was? You think it's just flat out bad?
I think it's bad.
Ooh, okay. Well, why do you
like
think
80% of the game is bad. The story starts until you beat the story truly starts when you beat all the worlds, and then that's when you start to move into the action of Xehanort moving his plan forward to get the.
To be fair, though,
the-
I mean, like
the
that's been a
Keyblade,
problem
you
since
know,
like Kingdom Hearts
the
1. If you really
X-Blade.
think about it, like in the grand scheme of things, since Kingdom Hearts 1, you know, aside it like they're like basically said, all right, each world needs to have their own story. Okay, let's just get the script of the movie, but like right in Sora, Donald, and Goofy are there and fighting Heartless as just the main.
You see, that's wrong. Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts
Kingdom
3
Hearts
did
1 and 2
that
did-
exactly.
Yes, I did.
The other Kingdom Hearts games did not. It wasn't that linear. When it wasn't that direct, I should say. With regards to Kingdom Hearts 3, Kingdom Hearts 3 literally was, hey, Organization 13 members comes in and say, oh, we're investigating this person. See if we can get their heart. And then you don't see them ever again. The only time you ever really see what's it called? The only time you ever really see any action from an Organization 13 member or an actual antagonist of the story in a Disney world was the Pirates of the Caribbean world where what's his name? The dude with the magic
Luxord,
cards.
yeah.
Luxord, I think is his name. Yeah, Luxord. He is the only one that really like gets into it. But when it comes to like world building, the other organization, like the other video games, at least some of the antagonists had some role in the already established Disney story. But not just, hey, we're just watching from a distance. They literally added nothing to the story except into the very, very last 20% of the game where it was the only Disney characters involved were the typical that you see from the Sora and then his gang. But when it came to the worlds themselves, the worlds weren't interesting. The worlds weren't
We're talking about Kingdom Hearts 3
exciting.
still, right?
Only like one or two
Okay.
worlds were good. The rest, yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3, the only two worlds were like good. The rest was just bad. The Toy Story one was the only good one, arguably speaking. There was a lot of moving back and forth. But the Pirates of the Caribbean one, it had ship combat, and it also had ship combat, and that's really it. Sora had no control of the story. He was not even part of the story. Period. And the Frozen world as well.
I think
he
the
had
Frozen
no part
world
of the story
was actually
at
the
all
one
whatsoever.
point that I
All
cut
he did
off,
was
even
climb
though
up
I
that-
was so excited seeing Luxine again. But I think just the whole idea of going up and down that mountain twice just completely burnt me out. I was like, I'm not gonna. No, I'm tapping out. This is getting repetitive now. I think that's when most people actually stop playing the game at that point.
Yep, it was something along those lines. Let's see, Twilight Town. It was a big empty nothing burger because compared to the other games where the one game where Twilight Town was introduced, it had a lot.
But to be
less
fair though, they did add
content in it.
NPCs in that area, and it makes
what
you
else?
realize like,
Let's
wow,
see.
going back to the PS2 games, it made you wonder if anybody lived in Twilight Town.
Right, that's true that they added NPCs, but they didn't.
What
add
about the
anything else
Ratatouille
content-wise or
minigame?
Anything to do around the city except I don't know, maybe watch a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I bet
and
you feel
Winnie the
fucking
Pooh,
stupid.
Sure.
Yeah,
but that
the
both their
minigames,
Keyblades are
dude,
ass.
the cooking, the fucking,
Technically speaking.
don't you love hearing Donald say, "This will be a good place to find some
It-
ingredients"?
Sure, and I would do that, but I've already unlocked their Keyblade only to realize it's okay. It's not like if you're just doing nothing but spells. There's like that one's the best Keyblade to do magic potency, but it's not the best magic Keyblade.
I can't whack it as good.
Either way, it was. It's let's see. So yeah, Twilight Town was a big bust. The Hercules world, Olympus, it was a very good tutorial world. It did tutorials very well. It told you exactly what you need to do, how you need to do it in a nice, seamless way, and that was a good world. Big Hero 6, very hit or miss. Which was the last world technically for some people. It was a very, very nice world. It continues the story of
I think
where
that's
the
probably
movie
another
left
reason
off,
why I didn't like super
from Big
connect
Hero
with it,
6.
because of like all
And
these new
that's
Disney movies, worlds, and stuff like that. I haven't watched them, so I was like, okay, this is the story of Tangle. Yep, that's pretty much how I thought it would played out. Frozen, I heard Let It Go a billion times. That makes me want to kill myself. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's about it. I was just kind of like, all right, I haven't seen these movies, so I don't have like a super tight connection to them.
Right. Toy Story, obviously, it didn't follow the events of Toy Story 1 and 2
God, I
and 3
still haven't
and
seen Toy Story 4.
came
I don't know if
after.
I even want to bother with it.
I didn't watch Toy Story 3 when it came out originally.
I
I
saw
watched it
Toy
like
Story
a year or
3.
two
I
later
didn't get
after.
super emotionally
But that's
connected. I still think 2 is my favorite. But 4, I just always felt like this feels like an unnecessary sequel, which is what I always hated because I felt like Pixar has always been good with making sequels. At least, like, you know, aside from obvious ones, like you could feel like when they made like a sequel is actually something you kind of look forward to. Compared to like Disney's repertoire of sequels. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like when Pixar does a sequel, it's like, okay, now we're gonna do the sequel because we know it's the right time and we know it's gonna be good. You know, but something about Toy Story 4 always came off as like,
right.
I don't know. This doesn't feel like that kind of Pixar patient magic. You know what I'm saying? That's probably why. And from what I've heard, it's very, very, very mild. So I'm like, all right. I didn't really think Toy Story 3 was that good. I didn't get like super emotionally attached to it, but you know, especially that ending, I heard people cried about it. I thought that shit was goofy as fuck. But you know,
Yeah, Toy Story 3 was a really, really, really good film. Especially there's one point where the toys, spoiler alert, I guess, for Toy Story 3, but there was a point where they were all scared. They were all wondering like, oh, what are we gonna do?
Burning
They're gonna
Inferno,
like
that
legit
is
die
the
to
trash
a,
heap.
because they were. Yeah, and then there
Like
was a point
damn,
where,
like
they just all
shit,
took
like
the
I
death
didn't
and they
expect
just all
that.
went
You
in.
know,
Which
like
was like
fuck.
that was yeah that was some good choreography. That was a good direction, honestly, when it comes to the movie. So either way, I did like in Kingdom Hearts where it took these movies and they continued their story in the Kingdom Hearts sense. So obviously in the what do you call it, in the Toy Story world, they were teleported to a different world. They don't know where Andy is. They don't know where the rest
I
of the
think
gang
that's the
is.
best way to
And
do Kingdom Hearts
I
worlds
really
is
like
that
that about.
don't just retell the movie again, just do their own thing. Like just put, all right, what goofy shit could happen with the main trio there, but with these characters from this movie. You know what I'm saying? Because at that point, you're just getting like a watered down script
Yeah.
that's like, all right, no more has to come in and be like, all right, just put Sora in the background right there. Yeah, there we go. And also tell like, you know, Donald is gonna fuck Iago in Aladdin's world or some shit like that. It's like, I don't know. It's to me, it's like when you play these games again, it's like, man, I'd rather
Yeah.
watch the movies at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Right, which is why the Frozen one, you have a much better.
I hope they don't go up the
experience watching
mountain 3
Frozen movie
fucking
than playing
times.
through it in Kingdom Hearts 3. But
So
basically,
aside from the,
let's see.
so which
most
is
of the
your
worlds
favorite
were
Kingdom
nothing.
Hearts game then?
We're nothing burger.
2. I think 2 is the safe
Uh,
bet. I'm not
2.
gonna look. I'm not saying like when I'm saying this though. Is like I don't think Kingdom Hearts 2 like there's like this big debate now like which had the better gameplay, better combat. Both are perfectly fine games, at least in my opinion. I don't want to get into this idea like apparently there's like this thing about people bashing fans of Kingdom Hearts 3 if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm not one of those people. I just think Kingdom Hearts 2, in my opinion, is like the peak of the franchise for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's perfectly fine. I never
Basically.
said Kingdom Hearts 3 was bad. I just never finished it. I just never really bothered with it. And if I am going to get back into the franchise, I much rather play all the games and mainly get around to playing Birth by Sleep because that's like the one game I've avoided up to this point in my life.
Mm-hmm. It's a Birth by Sleep, especially the 2.8 remix. I mean, the 2.8 game is actually really, really nice. I really enjoyed it.
Yep.
I recommend it.
Speaking of, oh no, I was just gonna say we
The-
should probably move on from
No, go
the
ahead.
Kingdom Hearts thing because something's been in my mind. Actually, I wish we had Kenny on today because he might actually enjoy this topic. So apparently we might, fingers crossed. I hope I don't jinx this shit. So apparently the RTX 3090 Ti recently came out, right? If I'm
Not recently,
2
but
years
it came
ago.
out last,
No.
like 2 years ago, I think, something like that. It's not that recent, but it's the most recent card that
really?
NVIDIA has. When it
What
comes to,
then?
like,
What graphics card am I
casual
thinking that
market.
just came out? Is it the
Yeah.
3090 Ti? Is that what I'm thinking? I remember there was a new
Oh,
graphics
I don't
card
know.
that just came out. Latest video graphics card.
I mean, the 3090 was out for a bit, but the 3090 Ti does sound new.
I could have
It does
because
sound-
sworn
I've
like
never heard of
here
a
we go.
3090 Ti.
RTX 3090 Ti. Yeah, it's here. Here we go. It came out March 20. Yeah, the 3090. Yeah, but
3090
the
was
Ti
out for a
is
while,
is
though.
is
But
out.
the
Yeah.
Ti version.
Okay, according. Yeah, it came out in March.
Oh wow.
Yeah, in March 29th, the
March.
3090 came
Interesting.
out starting at
Jeez.
$2,000 essentially.
They have it on the website.
No,
Obviously,
it's
their
19.
MSRP is 15. I think. No. Wait, is it?
So the reason why I
Wait.
bring this up is that obviously though, graphics cards are still a fucking bitch to get. Which sucks because I'm really in the market right now to finally upgrade my
Right.
computer. Mainly getting a new processor because my i7 is really, really holding me fucking back right now, and I just gotta like really pull the trigger eventually at some point. But I'm kind of holding off on it because I am a stubborn fuck, and I'm going to wait until hopefully, fingers crossed, because considering that the 3090 Ti just came out last month, there is hope that the 4000 series graphics card might come out in sometime this year, maybe late September. That's what I've been hearing through the grapevine, which is what I hope becomes
Right.
a thing because yeah, because like you know me, Marcos. I'm the kind of guy that's like I like to get the most out of my upgrades for my dollar. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not the guy that jumps on the next ship. I'm the guy that jumps to ship afterwards because to me, performance gains per dollar is not just what's between my 2080 to a 3080. It's like how much more money am I going to get because it's like you're not going to be spending the same amount of money from performance from buying from a 2080 to a 3080 compared to a 4080. You know what I'm saying? Like that performance gain is not only going to get bigger, but the price is also going to get much smaller too. You know what I'm saying? Like remember when the 3070 Ti came out, when the 3070 came out, it was promoted as like, oh, this graphics card at $499 performs twice as better than the 2000 equivalent, which is the 2080 Ti. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Apparently, the 40 series is going to be 3 times stronger than the 3080 counterparts, or 30 series counterparts, I should say. So, like a 3080 would work. Let me see. Yeah. So a 4080 would be 3 times stronger than the 3080. So yeah. But even then,
Oh yeah, mine
games can
still
run
runs just
just as fine
fine.
with
It's
a
just the
2080.
problem is though is that
It
I don't want to say it's a bottleneck, but it kind of is a bottleneck. Or in not in the usual sense where it's like my CPU is at 99 percentage and my graphics card is that. I just feel like that neither of these machines are pushing as hard as they could, either because I don't know is the processor holding it back. I don't know what's my old ass computer is holding it back. But I've been noticing as the years go on, as games get updated with higher core counts, like a good example, like a really good benchmark for this example. Let me give you guys a little history lesson. When I first built my computer, with my father and things like that, and it was a fucking shit show. I was rocking an FX 8320, which at the time was like, yeah, AMD was the cheaper alternative, but this bad boy could run 8 cores, da 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 da. And at the time, it was a good processor, but it wasn't the greatest, and it also heat like a motherfucker. You could cook s'mores off of this shit. And I wanted to play Battlefield 1, and Battlefield games require super high core counts, and they need like really strong processors in order to render all that shit, right? So I scrapped up enough money to upgrade to an i5. So I replaced the motherboard, replaced the processor, got an i5, and then that worked for Battlefield 1. And I played shit out of Battlefield 1. I love that game. And then eventually the game got updated to work better with Ryzen processors and higher CPU core counts. That now that became unplayable. So then I upgraded to an i7, which was the 7700K, which is I've been still rocking to this day. And that game became unplayable on that processor for a bit. That I realized like, okay, shit, well I can't play this anymore. So for a good like year, I didn't play Battlefield 1, and then I went back to it, and then it played just fine. But I don't feel like it's going to last that long in the future. So what I'm getting at here is that I really need to upgrade from this processor, and I'm a stubborn fuck. I refuse to pay marked up prices off of a scalper to get a new graphics card. And the way I look at it is this new graphics card is showing a trend that markup isn't going to happen anytime soon, or at least it's not going to happen as severely as it did before. What I mean by that is that there's this trend graph showing that where the graphics card MSRP price will be down here and then the markup will be up here. As the years went on, you see the line and the gaps goes lower and lower and lower and lower, that by the time when the 3090 Ti came out, you could still buy this thing brand new at exactly MSRP. You still don't. I could go to Best Buy right now and still pick it up. Now, granted, it is a $2,000 graphics card, which I'm not exactly comfortable spending on at the moment, but that's kind of interesting because there might be some fucking hope. I don't know if they ever fixed the conductor shortage issues recently or anything, but I only could fucking hope that graphics cards start to become a little bit more fucking feasible at some point, because I really want to get a new computer built.
The I think Linus Tech Tips. I watched a small clip of it recently where they said that the chip shortage for GPUs or GPU shortages is basically gone at this point. So I'm not sure what metrics they're using for that. Whoever reported this, I don't know what metrics they're using. All I know is that the whole GPU shortages, because of chips and other stuff included, it's no longer a thing at the moment. So people are going to see a lot more stocks being obviously coming back into the. No, I said that wrong. People are going to see a lot of restocks coming a lot more often because now there's not much of a shortage. I don't know to what degree it's going to affect the shortage. I don't know how bad the shortage was itself. All I do know is that there was a GPU shortage. So this might also affect the what do you call it? The whole case of like people waiting for something to drop, a new stock to drop. So how this will affect the market itself when it comes to scalpers and stuff, I don't know. All I know is that a lot of people have been heavily complaining on the whole what was it? The whole scalping situation, people not using capture checks.
But here's the thing, though. I want to make sure I'm clear this. I remember reading somewhere that NVIDIA is actually doing something to their graphics cards to make them not inherently used for Bitcoin mining things. Like, I don't know. I'm assuming that people always figure out a way how to get around it. Is the reason for the shortage is actually because people are buying these to mine, or is it because they're like legitimately want to get these graphics cards and it's just like, you know, first come first serve situation? Like, that's what I'm trying to understand here.
Yeah, obviously a GPU is not only just used for
editing,
video games, obviously
rendering, yeah,
video editing, rendering. Also, one of the popular stuff that made basically all computer parts extra expensive, specifically GPUs, is mining. Mining is a very, very, very lucrative market, especially if you have a nice setup for it. If you have like 20 different cards and they're all 3080 Ti's or 3090s, then go right at it, right?
You also have a very small penis, and you're a horrible human being. Just saying.
Not really. I'm not mad that people are buying 20, 3090s because they're trying to get their money. Do what you got to do to make your money. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'll find my own way to get a 3090 or 3080 Ti. I don't care. But to each their own. But I will say the part with mining where you got to like do, you know, cost analysis benefits is electricity, because obviously running 20 GPUs, basically running them at, I don't know, 80% at all times, it's a lot of freaking electricity, a lot of it. So that's what you gotta like balance it out. But what you just mentioned is something that I think Kenny brought up in the past before. But there was talks about there's going to be a specific GPU for gaming that will help with gaming as a whole, and when it helps with mining. So we're going to have a card here that when it comes to whatever functions it can do, whatever executions it needs to do, if you want to use a mining setup, the 40 series is going to come with a gaming or video rendering setup or a mining setup in the 40 series card, whichever 40 series card you're going to get. So let's just say the 4080, you want to get the mining one. Well, the mining one is set up with the hardware and the software to specifically work on certain executable functions that it can do that is beneficial and much more efficient for mining compared to gaming. Then there's the gaming side, or the video rendering and the editing side, where when it comes to mining, you don't really care about the whole making things look pretty on a screen. You just need it to work. So this is from what I can recollect from the last time I heard this and read this, when Kenny brought it up. All it really was just, this is more for video enhancing, video fidelity, graphics fidelity, and that sort. That's how that's the direction that they want to take the 40 series.
I mean, to be fair though, there used to be the Quadro cards back in the day.
I heard this a while ago.
That was like Yeah, like a lot of people bought those by mistake,
Yeah, the
thinking they're like,
Quadratum.
oh, this computer, if a fucking Titan was 1,000, this thing's 3,000. This would perform as much better. It didn't, because that thing was specifically made for video rendering. Like, yes, it plays video games with it, but it performs no different than the $2,000 less graphics card, which was really fucking funny. See people be like, they flex on people like that. Like, yeah, I can fucking have a Quadro card in this bitch. Like, cool, you just flushed $2,000 down the fucking drain.
Yeah, there is. I think Nvidia does sell. What do you call these? So you know how I mentioned about like cards specifically meant for gaming, video editing, and what was it? And then mining, right? I think Nvidia also sells. They're not Quadro cards, but they're like Quadro cards, but they were like, these are much beefier. Like I'm talking about like easily $5,000, $6,000 cards that are specifically meant for like servers and stuff, and like I forget what it's called, but it's not, you can't put this into a video game rig and they'll work for video games. It wouldn't really work well at all, but it's a GPU nonetheless. I forget what it was, but it's expensive as shit. It's I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, the Quadro.
Yeah, look,
Okay,
man. I back in the day in high school, Marcos, you knew me. I used to be really into computer parts. I used to be so up to date and keep up to, like knowing when. All right, if someone came up to me, Danny, build me a computer for $700. All right, bet, I got you. And I did that for my sister. When my sister wanted to build a $700 computer, I fucking built something for her. She could play The Sims at max settings, and she fucking loves that thing, right? But, like, there was a part of me where it was just like, oh, man, like, how difficult was it? Thankfully, going AMD on the graphics card made it a little bit bearable. I can't go back to AMD, unfortunately, because I have a GeForce G-Sync monitor, and I can't go back. And that's, like, another reason why I want to do this upgrade, because nothing makes me cry more than seeing a game that I used to run at, like, over 200 FPS go down to, like, 60 or 70 FPS, and it just feels awful. It's terrible. But back in the day, like, if someone told me like, hey, build me a computer for this price, like, all right, bet. I would name every piece on the top of my head, get the price down, where to get it, everything was set in stone. But then when the Bitcoin mining thing took off, and then all the graphics cards started to get marked up and everything, and then like there's always this asterisk in every video you see that like, oh, this build is $1,000 if you could get the graphics card at this certain price. And then like it's really depressing. Like at one point I looked up, okay, how to build a computer for $1,000. Like back in the day, I heard like the bare minimum you should spend on the computer was like 700, right? Like that was like a good ground where it's like a budget, but still was gonna last you a little bit longer. You weren't needing to upgrade as much. But man, I remember watching like J2 Cents make a video about like $1,000 build, and he couldn't put a graphics card in there, and I was just like, then what's the fucking point? I played off of an APU at one point, and it fucking sucked for a whole year. When I upgraded that APU to a 7790 back in high school, like that shit was like a world of a difference for me. But man, like, is this where we're coming down to, where it's like $1,000 is like a luxury now? Like, damn, man, I just want graphics cards to just come out, cost a good price, and that's it. I got fucking lucky with my 2080. I don't know if it's just because it came out or it was because it was a Zotac and not a lot of people buy Zotac models or something, but man, I got this shit for $700 bones, easily on the spot, no issues, and it fucking was great. But man, it sucks when I'm looking at the computer parts. I'm like, man, why is this 3080 so expensive? It should have been cheaper. Like, oh yeah, it is. It's just marked up because of scalpers. I'm like, God damn it, economy.
You did say about how kids nowadays have it easier these days. Obviously, the internet has made things a whole lot easier. A lot of things are a lot more user friendly. And when it came to PC building, being a PC builder, someone who specializes in PC building, the amount of stuff you needed to know just to set up a typical gaming rig, but that couldn't really play every single game. It needed to play, if you wanted to play WoW Classic, when it wasn't really called Classic, it was just called WoW, and you just needed a PC that can
join
run
a private server.
Someone needed to build. Right, but either way, like, so to build a good computer to run it efficiently, someone needed to specialize on it, at least with computers, to build a nice, decent computer for it. Nowadays you could just be like, hey, I'm gonna order this part, this part, this part. Are they compatible? Let me put it on PC part picker, and it will tell me if it's compatible or not. And when it comes to building it, all I really gotta do is just follow
Yeah.
directions and just putting all things together. How much
Paste.
plaster do I need to put in? Not a lot. Not paste. I'm sorry, thermal paste. Not a lot. Not a little. Just whatever. Just put it in, and there you go. And heck, even AIOs. If you have an all-in-one cooler, right? It comes with its own paste already installed. Some of these graphics cards even come with their own a good amount of paste already, and you don't got to do nothing to it for a long time. And like it's just like putting it things all together. Rewiring is basically technically the most difficult part of the whole set, of the whole thing, really. But yeah, it's quite funny how nice and convenient things are when it comes to building a PC. I'm really enjoying the user friendly age of
Yeah, time.
PC building.
It's just now with like knowledge is so
only getting
easily
easier from here
available.
now.
It's easier to get into it, but it's just the whole buying into it. Like back in the day, like people used to, what my a counter argument I used to have with console fanboys when I was a massive loser, and I used to like argue with these people all the time, or even like just complain about the stupid shit. I always told people that like yes, PCs are inherently more expensive than consoles, which is fine because the thing is though, it's a PC. It does more than just play games. It also is a computer. So to me, like I argued that like I think
Right.
it's more surprising for me to hear someone, especially in the YouTube scene, which is like really weird for me when people say that like, oh, I don't like PC, and it's like, yeah, but you need one to upload this video of the shit take of yours, my dude. So it's like that's where it is. What, did you make everything on fucking Share Factory?
Yeah.
Because if we did, I'd be legitimately fucking surprised.
Yeah, and I think the only reason why, and I could obviously support the stance as well. Um, with regards to like consoles, it's just convenience sake. Honestly, a lot of people like the convenience of things just working right. That's why I really like the only thing I really like about Apple products, if you buy a whole bunch of Apple products, is that hey, everything's connected. Everything is into one. So whatever you have in your phone, you can technically have it on your computer, on your tablet, on your watch,
It's an
etc.
ecosystem.
Everything's connected. Everything is seamless. Consoles, right? With consoles, yeah, and the infrastructure's there. With consoles, everything's set up already. You don't gotta worry about the temperature of a console anymore because the days of the red ring of death is over. You don't gotta worry about overclocking anything. You don't have to worry about if your drivers are updated or anything. Everything's just automatic, and it's easier. It makes sense. It's like me telling someone, "Hey, you can get a much more fuel efficient vehicle, especially during these trying
Gas
times with
price is
regards
too
to
damn high.
high fuel prices." Yeah, that you can drive a manual vehicle instead of an automatic transmission one, and you'll save on gas and be better for you. But a lot of people want the automatic transmission only because it's automatic. They want to text and drive and
They don't
be
want to jerk
dangerous
it to their
while they're
car,
doing
you
so.
know. You
They
don't
don't
want to
wanna-
fuck with
they-
that
they
stick.
just-
You know
just
what I'm
wanna go-
saying? At least I wouldn't be as
Right,
insulted as
so
much as someone said,
that-
dude, just
that
get a
being said, it's
Tesla,
just-
dude. just get like a $500,000 car and just like run electricity, bro.
Wait,
Well, like,
what
aren't they
Tesla
like
you know is
$400,000
$500,000? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Maybe
But
like
I
the
just
supercar
I just find it
variant.
funny. Like people say, well,
Yes.
just gonna let your car. Oh, so you want me to just get a whole new fucking car? That's gonna solve my financial troubles.
Yeah, like, most Teslas are like seven. Like the most common
Well,
one
I
is
was
like
just referring
60.
to just like electric cars in general.
That's yeah. Well, that's electric car, but either way, like I think the one that you mentioned, I think it goes like, ah, damn, it's pissing me off that I don't know it. Tesla sports car. I forgot what it was called, dude. Oh, it's pissing me off. The Roadster.
I
that's
want to
the
get the
one, Roadster.
Cyberpunk
That
truck.
one's pretty penny.
What the fuck? With the low poly count windows.
Oh yeah, the Halo. The freaking. Oh my gosh, the truck is 39,000. The Model 3, the 2002 Model 3, 48,000. The Model X is 116,000.
But does it really matter at the end of the day whether you want a
Model
console
S,
convenience? Because if you're making that argument, like, well, how easy it is to go walk into a store and buy a PlayStation 5 still. I have yet to see a PlayStation 5
Yeah,
in
that's true.
stock. Like,
How
it
easy
kind
it
of
is
reminded
to-
me like with the Switch. Like I remember back in the day, like you could not find the Switch in person for like the longest time.
Right, but Daniel, you can't be saying that argument. Well,
No,
we
I know. I'm
complaining
not saying
about
no. I'm not saying
GPU
that like
shortages and
one
GPUs
has
not
it easier
being
than the other.
available.
I just think it's funny that like we're both suffering at the end of the day because we all share a common goal, which is the shortage of chips. Like I get it.
Well,
Like at the
obviously
end of the
the
day,
GP.
it's like
I
you
mean,
got it's a piece
yeah,
of a
the GPU
computer
thing.
versus a whole fucking console, and yet if you still find the console and you don't buy a scalper price, it still would be cheaper than buying a computer.
Right, of course, but even then, consoles only got, especially the scalping for PS5, only got super crazy only because the amount of content that is on on the PS5, on the Sony
Yeah, the
console,
two of
basically
them.
all the exclusives, all the everything. Everyone's talking about playing this game and that game, yeah. So, but the Xbox has Game Pass, and that's also shared with PC. So,
I mean,
either way,
yeah,
even the
obviously it's a
Xbox was
supply
got
and demand
heavy,
situation. Obviously, the demand is high, the supply will run low, and thus the prices go up. It's basic economics 101. But like, I just think that it's just so funny because how long do you think it took for like the Switch? I think it took like I want to say half a year, maybe a year before everything kind of like the original.
And this
Yes,
is the Model 1 Switch, the first model, which had a whole bunch of issues. Whole bunch
you
of
know,
issues.
that's the
Dead
thing though,
cells,
Marcos. I
dead
had that
pixels,
Switch since
it was, yeah.
2017 and I still haven't had any issues. Not a single Joy-Con drift. I know that people want to sort the fucking goddamn like, Chromecast video and like I bought into it and I thought like, "Oh my god, the Switches are just going on flames" and things like that. Like, yeah, look, I get it, but like I'm not going to act like consoles don't fucking break because like if you're an Xbox 360 owner, you have no fucking reason to talk at that point because I don't know a single motherfucker who bought a 360 that hasn't broke. Except you.
Me.
My 360 fucking broke and it wasn't even the white model.
That's what I'm saying. Like I had an original Switch and an original Xbox 360, and both of them, I could turn them on 360 right now. It would be just fine. My original Switch, I still have it, and it still works just fine. The only thing I swapped out was the Joy-Cons because
But that was
I dropped. The
yeah. I
Joy-Cons
still
and,
have yet to
yeah.
experience the dreaded Joy-Con drift. But I'm just saying is that like people when I'm not doing this just to save like Nintendo. It's just like people just like when you look at things at a vacuum like that, it's like yes, these videos look really bad. But let's count how many systems came out and bought and sold, and then later we compare how many videos or reports of broken systems. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless we get like an actual accurate percent rate, like when the 360 told me you hit over 50, that's a fucking problem. That's literally 1 out of 2 people have a fucked up 360. That's when it's like, okay, that's a fuck up. The Switch, that was like a thing for like what, a month or two, and then that's it. And like the only reoccurring issue is like the Joy-Con drift, but that was it.
Yeah, but all I can say is that I'm pretty sure
Frame
if the
Zero,
40
boy,
series
baby.
are gonna
I'm
get scalped,
telling you,
wouldn't be
when I saw
surprised because
TK Breezy fucking stream that shit, and like Frame Zero, the moment it, the Best Buy website, the yellow button hits, grayed out immediately with the quickness, with the frame perfect moment. You're not even my 165 hertz monitor can capture the moment when that fucking thing turned gray.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward for Kenny, who obviously wants the newest thing ever. The way how he constantly moves back and forth between graphics cards is because of performance this, performance that. He wants the best. I want to know like how hard he's gonna like go with this, because if only he was here, he would tell you that he bought a 2080 Ti or Super. I can't remember what it was. He bought it, then like 3 days later, the 30 series was announced, and he goes,
Yep.
"Damn it!" And then he wanted to sell it to get it.
To me,
And
I
just-
think
it was
the
funny. It was
2080
ironic he
is
was-
like to
but-
me like I think spending $1,000 on a graphics card, unless you really need it, I don't think it's necessary. So I've always been like either getting the 4070 or the 4080. Again, assuming the prices are what I'm expecting here, because let's see, like to me like that's kind of
MSRP,
like
yeah.
where I'd be like, look,
Good.
unless I absolutely need this and I could like write this off as a fucking business expense, I'm not exactly comfortable spending $1,000 on just a graphics card. I'm sorry, like 700. All right, bet that's fine. Yes, does it cost more than a console? Fuck yeah, but god damn it, I'm gonna get way more mileage out of this graphics card.
Yeah, I got a 3080 Ti MSRP. I don't think I'm going to get a new graphics card until like maybe the 50 series or maybe even the 60 series. Honestly, the 3080 Ti has. Let me see. I've never. Well, first of all, thanks to my rig, I my GPU has never gone over 70 degrees, and even then, it's not even pushed to like 50% of its limits because of what I do. But
Yeah,
like,
if you don't need to
yeah,
upgrade, you don't
it's
need to
I don't think
upgrade.
I'll
Like
upgrade
that whole
anytime
thing, like,
soon.
oh, we got to
The
upgrade the time.
newer
Like, no, you don't.
generation.
I just like to put in perspective. I think I bought this processor in 2016. I'm just finally upgrading it now. This graphics card I bought it in 2017. I still haven't need to upgrade it to this day.
Yeah, the only thing I would really technically like
Oh yeah,
truly
that shit's
upgrade
gonna
is
cause
maybe
a
a
fucking fire
PSU
hazard at
because
one
those
point. That thing got to
deteriorate
get the
over
fuck out
time.
of here.
Maybe the CPU.
Well, yeah,
Those are
you
the
got
only
to.
two
That's
things on
part of the
motherboard.
course. I mean,
Actually, motherboard
that's
is the
why like
only
I'm
thing I would
building a new
change.
computer rather than just replacing the processor. Because
Yeah.
when you got to replace the processor, okay, now you got to get a new motherboard. Now you got to get the new motherboard. Now you got to get the RAM to support that processor because different RAM speeds and chipsets and blah blah blah. You need to get like a certain thing. Okay, cool, whatever. Get a new RAM, and then okay, well at that point you might as well get a new At that point, when you got to change the motherboard, you might as well build a new computer. But yeah, I think we should wrap
Right.
this
Basically.
rambling up. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the DKM podcast. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, you can listen to us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor. If you haven't yet, you could also join our Discord server. We'd love to have you in our little community. I don't think there's anything much else left to say, everyone. Sorry for the quick wrap up. We just got to get going. You guys have a good one. Take care, and see you next time.